Welcome to Lecture 1 for Vertical Integration. This lecture addresses two questions. First, what is a firm? Second, why do they exist? In a famous paper that actually helped him win a Nobel Prize, Ronald Coase identifies where to draw the boundary between activities and inputs that are within the firm and activities and boundaries that are outside the firm. That is, he's asking a very fundamental question: what do we mean when we talk about a firm? Of what does it consist? A money quote: outside the firm, price movements direct production, which is coordinated through a series of exchange transactions on the market. Within a firm, these market transactions are eliminated, and in place of the complicated market structure with exchange transmissions is substituted the entrepreneur coordinator who directs production. Think about the times your supervisor tells you to do something. The supervisor doesn't say, "I'll pay you $10 to do it." The supervisor tells you to do it, and you do it because you are being directed by the entrepreneur coordinator who's directing production. Outside of internal production, we do things for pay on an exchange basis. This means the boundary between activities and inputs in the firm and those outside the firm can be distinguished by the mark of whether there's supersession of the price mechanism. Coase writes, "It can, I think, be assumed that the distinguishing mark of the firm is a supersession of the price mechanism. If you're not using prices, but are instead using direct sort of command, you're talking about a firm. If you're talking about an exchange mechanism, pay for play, let's call it, that sounds like an activity outside of the firm." It raises another question that Coase answers. Well, why would we ever replace market transactions with coordination by an entrepreneur coordinator? Coase gives his reason. The main reason that it is profitable to establish a firm would seem to be that there's a cost of using the price mechanism. Underline that guy. The most obvious cost of organizing production through the price mechanism is that of discovering what the relevant prices are. You've got to discover prices, then you've got to negotiate and conclude contracts for each exchange transaction that takes place in the market. This implies that when the cost of producing something internally, including the transactions cost, is less than the cost of purchasing it, again including transactions cost, then the firm has reason to exist. If production within the firm is cheaper than production outside the firm, it is profitable to produce within the firm. Now, both internal production and external purchase involve transactions cost. Within the firm, you've got to direct and monitor the activities of the employees and resources in general. The cost of directing and monitoring resources in the firm are the transactions cost of internal production. External purchase, you've got to identify, contact, negotiate, conclude contracts, and monitor the vendor. And all these are transactions cost of purchasing something from vendors. That brings us to the conclusion of Lecture 1.